Hey, welcome back to the channel. Brian Fitz. Yeah, after 30 years in the military and federal service, I've learned a few things. And one of the things I learned about was something very early on when I took my ASVAB test. So I'm going to give you a few pointers on the ASVAB and a few hacks that will help you carve out a better career. So people have questions about the ASVAB, and just like I did when I first started out, and most people think that there's no way to improve your score, or if you've already taken the test, that's it and you're stuck with the score that you have. But I'm here to tell you something different. I'll also leave some links and some study guide references so that you can better prepare yourself. Or if you want to email me and get a coaching call, I'll leave that information as well. So you've probably heard of ASVAB or AFQT. It's one and the same. The AFQT is the first part of the test. The ASVAB is the whole test. And what you need to know about the ASVAB is, well, first, it stands for Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery. It's kind of like an SAT test or ACT if you've taken those, but essentially it's an IQ test. Now, the military is not going to tell you that, but that's what it is. And it tests your general comprehension on arithmetic and verbal, right? So within the ASVAB, there are 10 sections. And before I get into that, we'll talk about the AFQT part. Well, the AFQT part is really your score for your eligibility to get into the military. And in each service, there's a threshold that you have to pass to be able to get into that service. And I'll break that down for you right now. So first, you're going to have the Army. The Army with a high school diploma is a 31. The Navy is a 35. The Air Force is a 36. The Marine Corps is a 32, and the Coast Guard is a 40. Now, if you don't have a high school diploma and you only have your GED, you're most likely going to have to score 50 for most services. But the Air Force is a little bit higher. I think it's a 60. So it's a little bit tougher for you. But hey, if you're in that situation, I'm going to give you some more tips that you're not going to have to worry about that. So now that you understand that the AFQT is your entry and your entry score has to be above those numbers, then you get into what they call a line score, or the Navy has a different name for it, but these are different scores that help line you up with the job that you're going to pick in the military. So to further break down the ASVAB, there are 10 categories, right? Kind of like what you would see on your SATs. You have arithmetic reasoning, which they call AR, mathematical or mathematics knowledge, MK, word knowledge, WK, paragraph comprehension, PC, general science, GS, electronics information, EI, Autoshop, AS, and mechanical comprehension, MC, and assembling objects, AO, coding speed, CS. So those are the categories that help line up with specific jobs. And then what's going to happen is you're going to take the test, and there's going to be a combination of those scores that will allow you to get a specific job. All right. So, for example, let's say you want to join the Army and you want to be an IT or an information technology specialist. That's a 25 Bravo. So in that case, you're going to have an AFQT of 31, right? Because you're going to have to get into the military or in the Army. And then your combined score of GS and VE and AR 35, they're going to have to total to 110. So those three combinations will get you eligible for that job. So another example would be like the Navy, AT, Aviation Electronics Technician. They work on airplanes. So the AFQT is 35 to get in. Then you would need an AR of 40, an EI of 45, and an MK of 35 for a total score of 120 to get in. Now, sometimes you'll find a job that has more than one combination to get into the job. So you may not do good in one combination of three or two, but the other combination you might be able to do. So why is this important? Well, the reason why I'm breaking this down is because if you're going to join the military and you have an idea of what job that you want while you're in the military, you can find out what these line scores are, and you can know that ahead of time so that when you study, you can focus on those areas and ensure that you get the job that you want instead of just getting the job that's offered to you, right? Because let's say you do go in and you take your test, the recruiter is not going to tell you this. The recruiter is going to say, hey, these are the jobs that are available based off of your scores. He's not going to tell you can take the test over. So I got news for you. You can. So you can take the test over. Usually you got to wait at least 1 month the first time. And then I think the second time is 6 months, right? So should you wait? Well, obviously the recruiter is going to try to just fill you in with a job that, he has a has a need for and you qualify for, and maybe you just want to get the heck out of there. But I think, what you really need to think about is the military is still going to be around a month later, right? And so if you had your heart set on a specific job, then you should take the test. But before you take the test, you should prepare by studying. So what you want to do is you want to get some study guides to better help you so you can improve your score. So I'm going to share a story with you. When I joined the military, I had already taken my ASVAB tests. And the way it was back then was if you registered for selective service, then you would also take your ASVAB test at the same time, and you got to get out of class, which was really cool because that's why I took it. I just wanted to get out of class. And I didn't do very good in high school at all. And I didn't think that that would matter. I didn't really care about the ASVAB test. So fast forward a few years later, and I found myself at the recruiter's office, and he said, "Had you taken your ASVAB?" And I said, "Yeah." So I already had an ASVAB score done. And based off of my ASVAB, he gave me a few jobs to choose from. And I chose a job and I joined the military. And, it worked out for me. I was lucky. But after a little while, decided that I wanted to go into special operations, and my score wasn't good enough for that. Initially, when I first came in, I actually thought about joining the Coast Guard, but I ended up joining the Navy. So there I was probably 4 years later in the military, and I wanted to join special operations, so I had to have a different score. So what did I do to get a better score? I went out and I bought a book called Barron's ASVAB Guide, and they're still available. There's other brands as well, but I'll leave a few links. And I picked up this Barron's book and I worked through the workbook. And that workbook took me 3 weeks to do, and I probably put in about 4 hours a day for 3 weeks. Now think about this isn't a time when there was no cell phones or no distractions, and I knew this is what I wanted to do, so I was pretty focused. But 4 hours a day for 3 weeks is not a lot of time. I mean, if you can't put away that time for something this important, like what job you're going to choose in your career, then maybe you don't want to be in the military because you're going to have a lot harder things to do than that. Anyway, I did take the test. So I went to, which is our HR department, or admin, and I said I want to retake the ASVAB. So I scheduled a test. I retook it. After 3 weeks of studying, I aced the test. So I actually doubled my score just from 3 weeks. And I hadn't been going to school prior to that. I hadn't been out of school for about 4 years. So I can tell you that if you do work through those workbooks, you will improve your score drastically if you just do the work, right? So yeah, that was kind of what happened to me. And, I didn't have any problems getting in special operations after that with my scores. So there's proof that if you just do a little preemptive studying, you'll do just fine. So if you're someone that's just trying to get in the AFQT, I guarantee if you do one of those books, you're going to do just fine. What's cool about it is as you go through, you take quizzes and tests. And by the time you're at the end of the booklet, you kind of have a feel for how good you are based off of each test. Like, okay, so I'm getting 80% or 90%. So you kind of know what you're going to get. In the military, in general, for all services, if you score over a 50, you're going to get a pretty good job. If you score up to 70, you can pretty much do anything you want in the military, aside from maybe a few specialty jobs that require very specific scores. But like I said, I'm going to leave a link and show you how you can find those scores. If you're going down to your recruiter and you know exactly what you want for your job, you ask them for the line scores, you ask them for that breakdown so that you know prior to taking your ASVAB exactly what you need to study up, right? So if you just study everything and you get a better score overall, that's great too. It's only going to benefit you to have more options, right, as you go in there, because maybe you like two jobs, job A, job B. You qualify for both, but one has a bonus and one doesn't, or one has a better, plan for you after the military. So make a really smart decision when you first start, because this is the beginning of your career. So it's like I like to say, if you're on a ship and you're headed out in a direction, you're going to go set sail, but you want to make sure your GPS is oriented in the right position, or your compass, right? So that you're going the right way from the beginning, and you can save yourself maybe 4 years of a career not doing what you want to do, and you can be doing the job that you want to do from the very beginning. So I'm going to give you a few more links and show you a little bit more on how you can better get your ASVAB score up. It's not a hard test. It's 3 hours, but if you put the study time in, I guarantee you'll do better. In fact, I had a guy who wanted to join the military. He was a friend of mine and he hadn't been in school. He was struggling with the AFQT. I brought him that same book that I used. We worked through, I think I worked through like 3 or 4 chapters with him, and then he did the rest himself. And yeah, he doubled his score as well too. So he was able to get into the military. So it definitely works. Don't get frustrated. You know, not everybody does great on their first try. Sometimes you gotta, you know, put a little grit in, and if you really want it, you'll do just fine. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I had a personal experience with that where I had to take that test over, and you know, if you put a little work into it, your scores will drastically improve and you'll be in a way better position to start off your career than I was when I first started. So if you like this kind of content and you appreciate it, I would appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe. But more importantly, if you want some coaching, I'll have my email address here, and then you can get some private coaching, and I can discuss my terms. So the first call is for free. Other than that, I just want to say if you're going to go take that ASVAB, try and take it before you talk to the recruiter. Try to get the best score possible, but make sure you study before you take it. A lot of people don't do that, right? Just do it. That book costs you maybe $10 and it'll be worth it in the long run. Okay, you could probably even get it for free at a library. You could just go to the library and work on it on your own if you don't have the money. So yeah, ASVAB, not so scary, guys. It has some nuances. You need to understand what you're getting into, but you can tame that dragon very easily. So do me a favor, um, send me an email, leave a comment, and I appreciate everybody. And you know, if you're gonna move forward in life, just make sure you do one thing: move with a purpose.